Hi, this is Maggie. Welcome back and welcome to new listeners. This episode is particularly close to my heart because I'm talking to one of my role models, Antonio Vegetzi. Antonio is incredibly accomplished and at the same time a truly humble leader, which is a value I hugely appreciate. So tune in to listen to his wisdom and his life stories, consisting of 2 or even 3 chapters: management, governance, and academia. You're listening to Leadership's Insights, Navigating Career and Life. I am Maggie Rombach, your host, bringing inspiring stories and practical advice on leadership, career development, and work-life balance. So, welcome to Leadership Insights, brought to you by Maggie's Mindset Mastery Academy. And as always, I'm super excited to talk to another inspiring leader. And today we have another inspiring role model of myself actually with us today, Antonio Vegetzi, who was my professor when I was doing my MBA. So I feel privileged and I'm delighted to have you here. And as usual, with no further ado, I pass you the word to introduce yourself. What is your leadership story? What brought you here?
Well, first, it's really good to be here, Maggie. I was delighted by your invitation to join you on a gig, and here we are. My professional life, my sort of what you call leadership stories, is made of 2 separate lives. The first life, what I call the road to management and the management and the exercise of management skills, starts after university. I worked for a long time for 2 organizations. 10 years for Arthur Andersen. At that time was the largest consulting and accounting company in the world. And then for over 16 years for the Capital Group, which is one of the largest global player in asset management. Almost suddenly, I was appointed to the IFRS Board of Trustees to represent the asset management industry. The IFRS is, as you know, because you've done that together, is the organization that sets the global reporting and accounting standards worldwide, and is really a standard-setting organization and policy-making organization in the financial field. There, other than the sort of board of trustee role, I was responsible for the due process, and then I joined the executive committee. While I was at the IFRS, I started receiving invitation to join the board of a number of companies. First, companies on financial services. So I served in the board of 2 large European asset managers. Then I joined the board of a Swiss bank, and then I joined the board also a couple of non-profit organizations. So I started a life in governance. Parallel to that, and by chance, while I was making presentation at Swiss University about the agenda of the IFRS, so the future plans of the IFRS, I was asked whether I was interested to teach. And after thinking it over about 5 seconds, I said, yes, that would be a good experience. So I started teaching at both the Università della Svizzera Italiana in Lugano and at Geneva University, that is my alma mater. So that's where we met. So these are 2 separate lives in a way, that complement each other. One was some hands-on, it's coming from the very junior rank because I joined Andersen after university as an assistant, and then going through up to the senior manager role, and then working at Capital, first in Switzerland, and I was part of the executive committee and board in States. And then moving to a more governance and a sort of academic theoretical world. It just gives you, all this gives you a very interesting experience because you see the organization from both sides. Gives you a sort of 360, allows you a 360 understanding how the organization function, where is the accountability, how is the empowerment of management, what is the difference between governance and management, and so forth. So it was very interesting, very experience. And Academy allowed me to share some of my learning, some of the lessons I learned with young, smart, and very interesting folks. So.
Excellent, thank you. So it's almost 3 lives. It's like management, governance, and academia. So
the two I really did together. So I really see together. And I'm at the end of my second life. So I'm at the end of the overall journey. I'm still in the board of 2 organizations, always in the financial area. But it's probably going to be the last couple of years I'm going to do. So I have this possibility to look back and sort of reflect, and it has been a long road, a long journey.
thank you, and we'll be looking forward to hearing some of those reflections and wisdom as we jump into the questions. And I'm sure we'll be getting back also to your journey onto boards, which I think is really fascinating also for our listeners, because I know many of them are mid to senior level professionals that might start thinking about how could I get there. But we'll get there. I'm sure that'll come up throughout the questions, or we'll touch on that later. So with that, let's get started with the usual questions. The first one around guiding values. So what are your top 3 guiding values, both in your career and professional life? No, sorry, in your personal life.
Yeah, you told me that you were going to start our conversation with this question. So I did. I had to do some soul searching, and the first 2 values were very evident to me, and the third one I had to do. I had to work a little bit more. But so starting from the first one, I think for me a guiding principle has been engagement, which is an active and intentional participation in whatever you do. I mean, when I talk about engagement, it's not limited to the professional area, but more generally on initiatives in your personal life and in your interaction with people, with organizations, and so forth. And that has come very natural in the sense that very early in life I decided I wouldn't be a tourist. I wouldn't go with the flow, and I wouldn't be selective and pick what I like and what I don't like. I felt was very natural that whatever I was happening to be involved with, I would do it. I would have I would create a sense of purpose for being there, for doing. To the point that this is interesting. I went very late to the army in Switzerland. In those days, the latest you could go was 26. So I went at 26 because I was doing my studies at university, and I kept postponing, hoping that they forget me, but they forgive me, forget me and forgive me for my sins. And then they didn't forget me, they didn't forgive me. So I had to go at 26, and I was not very enthusiastic. But then when I was there, I was as active as anybody else. I just say, I'm here. We have to have some exercise. Let's do it. There are other people. I'm in a team, and most of the people like what they do, unlike me. But I will do it. So the sense of engagement sometimes takes you to do things that not necessarily you care about. But I think that then if you make that a guiding principle, then when you're in an organization, your willingness and your approach is one where you want to make an impact. You want to be it's not an ego trip. We want to make an impact because you're there and you think that everybody does the same. The organization will be a better organization, will progress. The second was probably is more natural with my character is self-reflection, which is, I think, the capability and also the willingness of looking inward and to gain a deeper understanding of myself. Sort of, it becomes a little by little. This is something you have to learn. It's not, for me, it wasn't as instinctive as engagement. You have to learn it. It becomes a commitment to self-awareness, to growth, and to learn, to willingness to do things better. And I was tempted to say self-awareness. Sometimes people talk self-awareness and self-reflection as the same, and I think I aim at both principle, but self-awareness is more recognizing what is happening right now within you, what you want, who you are. Well, self-reflection is sort of looking back and looking at what you've done and learning from your past experiences. It entails sort of a different relationship, but the two principles are very connected. The self-reflection leads to a positive self-awareness. I know my shortcoming. I'm going to work on my shortcomings. I know my strength and so forth. And it destroys a bit the alibis. Tendentially, we all have to say, it's not my fault. Is my professor didn't, I failed maths because my professor didn't like me, or I failed my job because my boss, an idiot. And sometimes it's true. All this is, there are situations where professors are idiots, bosses are incompetent, and your colleagues are jealous, but that should not be the starting point. The starting point should be what I can do to get it better, what I can do to eliminate these sort of handicaps, natural handicaps that comes in life. So how much is my responsibility when something goes wrong?
Yeah, it's also really taking accountability, isn't it?
Yeah. It applies also to organization, not only to individuals. So a good company is a company that knows itself, that knows what are the strong points and knows the weaknesses. So there's so much when we talk about strategy of a company or of an organization, understanding the environment, the market, the externalities, all true. All this is true. But most of the time, the bad strategies, the bad ideas comes from not a bad interpretation of the market, but a bad understanding of the strength and the weakness of organization. Taking action you cannot deliver. So, also a good organization, that's why we're doing that at Capital. I try to bring it to wherever I go as a director, as a board director. It's this willingness to identify, disclose, and discuss errors. In financial services, you have a lot of transactional mistakes that can occur. And I think at Capital, we have the good practice of logging them. And then regularly at the end of the month, or depends also on the urgency, get together the team, or get together the teams involved, and then discuss it. What happened? What went wrong? Why went wrong? But it becomes an exercise of taking responsibility, and taking an exercise of saying what we have to do so that doesn't occur anymore. So that is, that we were calling that post-mortem, it's like, how it happened. So I think that's a very self-reflection that leads to self-awareness.
So that was the first two, right? Like engagement and self-reflection?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, the third is more difficult to explain, but that is where I had to do some thinking. And I came up with the value of people matter. Just reflecting the fact that people are important, that so that every person has inherent worth and should be treated with respect. But also you should listen to people. That leads to accepting people's feedback and feel compelled in giving people feedback, because it works the other way around. So it's encouraged to sort of listen and support and sort of uplift those around us. And it is interesting because I'm tendentially an introvert and a shy person, and yet in my professional life and also my personal life, I searched to work with people, and I valued working with people. I was motivated by working with people.
Yeah, I feel that's a really nice, powerful set of values: engagement, self-reflection, and people matter. So it's really the insight, the introspection, but also the connection with people. So it's nice. Wonderful. Okay, let's move to the second one, the second question. This is about an accomplishment that you're actually really proud of. So what could be one, and why are you proud of it?
I think I'm going to surprise you. I was a couple of months ago. It was in January, early January. I had to prepare a detailed CV because the central bank of a company is Central Bank of Italy, because I'm in the board of an asset manager domiciled in Italy, was asking a detailed profile with achievements and sort of bureaucratic stuff for the directors of the company. So I looked at that. So I updated. It was quite a while. I didn't. I had to update that. And I updated. And I looked at that, and I say, "Wow, what Antonio back when he finished university would have thought of doing this journey, this professional journey. Would have ever dreamed to do that." And so I got this feeling of, wow, it's been a long way. It's been a lot of fun. There's been a lot of satisfaction. But at this point in time that I'm almost at the end of the journey, I think the best accomplishment is my family. There's no doubt. I have no single doubt. That's what I feel. I feel.
Wow, basically the whole journey. So that's amazing.
I'm happy. I'm proud of the journey, but what really matters, or what really makes me happy at this point in time, what I'm grateful for is, first of all, is my family.
Your family. Yeah. Yeah, can really relate to that. Okay, should we move to the next question? So the next one is about hiring and promoting individuals. So what qualities matter beyond technical skills?
When hiring, self-reflection. I want people that have this attitude where they want to learn and self-aware as well. I found that the most difficult questions for somebody that is interviewed is, tell me about your weaknesses, or describe me your last professional failure and how you came out of it, and how you. And that's just so difficult for so many candidates, for more people interview. Everybody's very good to talk about their accomplishment. Everybody's so good to talk about their strong point. But when it comes to share their weaknesses, so there are people are totally paralyzed, and they had 45 minutes of wonderful interview. They were very talkative, and then they get blocked, or other that are not confident enough to talk about the weaknesses. So they cheat. They tell you a weakness that could be a skill, like I'm a perfectionist. Like
I was about to say that's the typical, yes.
I'm somebody want to really do a good job, not realizing that being a perfectionist is not necessarily always very positive. So that's the way I look. When in terms of promotion, I always I try to look at the talents, so which is what are the inherent skills that the individuals has that he can bring to the new responsibility. So is he, you know, once I have well understood what it takes to be at the next level, is that does he have the skills that match what is required at the next level?
I think your point on the weakness, it's really deep in the sense that, you know, it's also the mindset comes with it, because as much as we can see a failure as a bad result that we learned from, and there's a growth mindset, we feel less shy to talk about it. And it's only if we give it the meaning that we failed and it was our fault, and you have this whole narrative that starts, that's when people don't want to talk about it, because they try to put it under the carpet and not talk about it. But if you manage to learn from it, it can actually be a really enriching experience.
And failures, if well handled, make an individual stronger. You know, if people can learn from their failures, they're a better person, are better professionals.
Yeah.
And also people that that know their weaknesses in terms of skills are the one that they surround themselves with people with complementary skills. So because they know that they don't have that. So that's why it's so important, is understanding self-awareness, self-reflection, and so forth, because the way they will apply to the difficult moments of their career, the way they will apply to the teams they build, and the people they will hire is impacted by their understanding of themselves, their capability to manage their weaknesses and complement them.
Yeah, so true. Wonderful. So here comes the next one. This one is about work-life balance. So in today's fast-paced world, what's your top tip how to maintain a work-life balance?
Well, you're talking to recover the workaholic here. I must admit that I've not been always very good with running a life with the right balance. And now looking back, I tell myself it is okay. You know, it is okay in the sense there are moments where if the long-term priorities in life are to be your family, your values, and so forth. There are moments you can for a short period, you can say, well, that's it. You know, I'm giving myself 100% to this project or this task because that is part of my journey, and it will allow to get a better balance of and a better mood after that. I'm not really a role model of that, and it's interesting because now I have my three sons are adults that are progressing in their careers, and they deal exactly with this challenge, which is I'm gonna make sure that I remain myself and I keep a balance. I'm gonna be without giving myself up to the devil of professional commitments. And so we talk about that. So and other than the usual pearls of wisdom in terms of do sport, make sure you spend enough time with your companions, dedicate your time at your friends, and keep track of the things you really like outside work. I think the good reminder. It was a good reminder for me, and it's a good reminder for them is the 80-20 rule. So when you look at your work, at your workload, the task you're accomplishing, what is really necessary that you do, what you can delegate, what you might avoid. There are things we do that sometimes we realize are not necessary. So just carve out time of the inefficiency in your work, and dedicate this time, obviously, to your personal life.
And, I think this is, first of all, this is a really good tip. And also, now the discussion is sometimes also, is it work-life balance, work-life integration? There's a lot of play with words, but I think what people try to explore is, what always struck me about you when you were teaching us, how much you loved what you were doing. You taught me accounting. I don't necessarily love accounting, but you made me really impressed and like accounting. And so there's also this element, if you actually really like your job and then you manage to do it more efficiently, that also contributes to work-life balance because you actually enjoy the work part of the balance. And that by itself is already enriching, isn't it?
No, obviously, if somebody, and I find some people, and I'm flabbergasted, that hate their work. So for them, there is no work-life balance, because even if they they work a minimum, the minimum required, their life is going to contaminate it. It's because the work represents a toxic part of their existence. So you're absolutely right. I didn't really focus on that right away, but it's a good point. Yeah, there is one thing though that is, if somebody doesn't have a good balance, he will have difficulties to step back from and be a better professional, just put things in context. If the work is eating you up in terms of your time, your energies, and you have very little room to recharge the batteries to leave, you're not going to be over the long term a good professional, because you will not be able to step back, to look things in perspective, to rationalize and so forth. You're too involved. So there is also utilitaristic interest in terms of having a good balance, because you're going to be a better professional.
Yeah, that's true, and a better performance. Excellent. So here comes the next one, which is around a valuable lesson from private life, whether it's parenthood, sport, art, something that helped you also at work.
Well, I think I'm a passionate for sports, and I think sports is a good metaphor of life in many circumstances. I recall that when I was a sort of teenager and first years of university, was playing football, was playing tennis, was playing competitive football in teams, and I was a pretty good player for that level, obviously. But there were days that were things would not work. I would make a wrong pass, a major mistake. I would take it personally, and then all my game would be influenced. It's like, how can I do this mistake? So, do something wrong, and then all just all the game is affected. And once a coach told me, "Why are you doing this? Shit happens." I recall the word "shit happens," and the good player is not the one that does good passes, score goals, and so forth. The good player is the one when he falls, he gets up. And so fast forward, I guess 20 years, 15, 20 years. I was in Los Angeles. First time I went to Los Angeles, and I was asked to do a presentation. I just got a promotion, so I was pretty self-assured and motivated. And I accepted to do the presentation, but I wasn't prepared. I didn't have the good material. I thought I would go and talk to people. I thought there were 10 people, there were 60 people. So the presentation was really bad. And obviously, I started thinking it over. I blaming myself. How can you do this? an idiot and so forth. And that turned me being grumpy for the next couple of days, you know, and people would realize, they wouldn't ask him, but would realize, oh, you know, that's this grumpy day for Antonio. And then in the evening of the second or third day, there was a guy that's been my mentor, or one of my mentors, who told me, what is this? So you come here all the way and you look in such a bad mood. And I say, well, I cannot forgive me because blah, blah, blah. And he said, shit happens. You have to accept that. Resilience, you know, is part of the skills of being a good manager. You got to be resilient. Resilient means accepting that you make mistakes. You you don't do as well as expected once or twice, but you know, it becomes the rule. There is another problem, but and you have to accept that. You have to keep up and get up and say, you're going to do it better next time. Next, what you learn of this. When I got that advice, I really thought that at my football coach, shit happens, and you have to live with it.
I like that. It's so true. And yeah, it's so true for many sports. You know, you fall, you just get up and you keep going and you learn from it. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is already the last question of this section. So this is about a significant role model for you. So who would be a role model and what makes him or her your role model?
Well, I'm somebody that always liked to observe other people and try to learn the good things from other people. So throughout my life, I identify role models. You know, so my professors when I was at high school, and then my colleagues, my bosses. I would identify, not you know, I would choose, obviously. I would be very selective and look at people that have skills I didn't have, that would fit into my style, to my character, to my behavior, and I will look at them. You know, I would try to simply learn by observing, by talking to them, and so forth. So I really think that what matters is when it comes to role modeling is the attitude. Do you want to learn through the model that other people can offer you or not? If you're open to do that, there are plenty, because there are plenty of things we have to learn all the time. So, but if you ask me about my hero, you know, in life, that's is Mandela. And particularly nowadays when I watch politics, you know, I wish we had many Mandelas. And in sport, and then Paolo Maldini in sport. Paolo Maldini is the captain of my favorite team. But that's it. This is my hero, not role models. You know, there are other dimensions and so forth. Those are my hero.
Yeah, no, amazing person. Wonderful. Thanks so much. That were the 6 typical questions. So before we get to the quick fire burst, there's one new section I started asking leaders, which is around transitions, because you mentioned you had two separate kind of stories in your professional life. And I noticed most leaders do. So when you look back at your different career changes and transitions, is there anything you wished you had known at that time to make that move or that transition smoother or more effective?
You know, if I look at specific situations, things I've done, decisions I've been made on specific matters, I could write a book on how I would do it differently, obviously. Even the good things, you can do something good, but you can do it excellent. So, but when it comes to the overall trajectory, you know, so the journey, I have absolutely no regrets. I think I was lucky because things happened to me, happened to be at reach. When I had this opportunity to join the IFRS board, that made me say, well, now I can do a different life. It was easy for me to say, well, now, given the fact that I'm just, well, maybe I can change my life. And it was easy because I just came out of a cancer. So, and the cancer was like a sign that you, as much as you love your job, as much you're passionate, as much you think you're successful in what you're doing, there is a price for the stress. All this causes stress, causes huge effort. And so I interpret that like a sign that maybe my body saying, calm down. So under those circumstances, it's very easy to make difficult decisions. Very easy. So my wife has always been with me. So it has but not been traumatic. I wonder whether I didn't have had that. Probably I would have continue because you can do the IFRS board as a part-time role, and I could. So in life, there is a good theory about luck, and I am a big reader of Borges, and Borges says that everything is determined by chance in life. And that there's this wonderful book about difference. There's one of his stories is a short story that talks of life about as a lottery, where all our lives and what we do in our lives is determined by some numbers that are picked up in a faraway, mysterious lottery. So we are all determined by chance. The truth is that we need to recognize that in our life, what are the sliding doors, what are some opportunity for chances, and say, I'm going to seize it. That's it. That is an opportunity. This is a sliding door that I have to handle very well because I know the consequences. So luck and chance do exist, but as Arnold Palmer, who's been the greatest player in golf, was saying, luck exists in golf, but the more I train, the more I get lucky.
That's so true. Yeah.
So the more trained in life, the more you're aware, you're self-aware, the more you recognize situations, the more you turn opportunities in good stories for you.
Yeah. And also really, I want to thank you for also sharing this difficult moment, as you mentioned, having this cancer experience. And, as we prepared for this interview, I haven't fully disclosed because I've just come out of a major health challenge as well. And I also felt like this was a wake-up call I needed. And I'm going to redirect my life now. So I think it's also sometimes a moment that shakes us up. But then if you take the right consequences from it, actually, it can really be a turn for the better. And again, it's the question, what do you learn from it?
I agree 100%.
Wow. That was deeper than I expected, but really, thanks for sharing. And yeah, as you said, overall, you look back and there are no regrets and the journey turned out in a beautiful way. So that's also reassuring.
Yeah, I was lucky, but I trained a lot.
Yeah, I love that quote. Cool. So here comes the quick fire burst round. Are you know the game. I'll be throwing questions at you, and the idea is to answer with one word to the extent possible. So to really keep it dynamic and quick. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Excellent. So please describe your leadership style in one word.
Positive.
Right. What's the key to successful teamwork?
Trust.
One must-read book.
Haruki Murakami. What I talk about when I talk about running is a fictitious journal about Murakami himself preparing his first marathon, in reality, is a metaphor of life. You know, where metaphor is going through life. Excellent.
Oh, I have to check that out. That's like that. One type of dream job, if not your current one, what kind of thing? I mean, you mentioned before, now you're in the luxurious position that you can really pick the things that you have most passion for. So what's the next dream job or non-job you'd love to do?
None, I would say. But if I want to be crazy, president of AC Milan, my favorite soccer team.
Ah, nice. That'd be great. Okay, and if you could pick a superpower, like to fly or whatever it might be, what would be your preferred superpower?
Super speed. I'm getting my knees. I'm a jogger, and my knees are getting old and sore. So super speed.
Super speed. What's the name of the superhero? Like Flash, the one who runs really
Yeah,
fast?
Flash.
And what are you most grateful for?
My family.
Well, thanks so much. You've been extraordinarily disciplined on this because most people go off, but it's always good to have the challenge to stay concise. So, as we wrap this up as a parting thought, what career advice would you give your 18-year-old self or anybody starting out? Or actually, maybe let's go back also to this idea of to anybody who's aspiring to the next step, maybe including in their next big step in the career, getting on a board. Like, pick whatever resonates most, but what would be your parting advice?
To the youngsters, I would so at the beginning of their professional road, or even when I have to choose their studies at the university, and then sort of develop a vision of their professional career, I would tell them, don't believe to those who invite you to follow your dreams and dream big and so forth. Because most of the time, for most of us, is leading nowhere. It's leading to disgruntled and disappointed people. Rather than try to follow your dream, find what are your skills, your strengths, your competitive advantages. What are the skills that are going to make you valuable in professional world? What do you have that other people, most of the people, don't have? What can make you successful? And it's different. You come up with if you have this approach, you come up with very different vision, ideas, and choices that you want to make in the future. And then if you try to follow simply your dreams. If I followed my dreams, I would be failed sax player, probably playing under the bridges for a few minutes. The other suggestion I would, I think I share that with my sons, is when you're looking for the first or the first job or the first jobs, try to get in a position where you can learn. You can intellectual power that shares his expertise with his employees, where you really can develop into a better professional. So you have the right role models, you have the right structure, you have the right training. So the very it's not so money will come. Never think of the money as a first priority. Money will come if you're good. Money will look at a company gives you opportunity to become a better professional, whatever you do.
Thank you. That's a really
For the board, the board is there is no path. You get there, you do your career, you develop expertise, and then things happen. Quite frankly, is the difficulty is to be told. Once you're on the board, not the story isn't over. You have to become a good board member, so somebody that has an impact and brings value, which is in a way different from being a good professional, a good manager, and a good leader. So they're also different. But there is no, it's just life that takes you there. Your professional experience, your achievements, that takes you to be selected for a position.
And that also makes sense because, as you say, it's about you want to be of value to the organizations once you're in the governance. So you don't want to be there because that looks good on LinkedIn or because it's a cool status. You know, the more you can bring your expertise and value, the more obvious you will be as a candidate, rather than ticking a box of the next status symbol that the one might be chasing.
Yeah, not far ago. It's board members were a bunch of fat cats that thought that their role was to be cheerleaders for the management. This is a recipe for disaster, right? So it just is also it's just the opposite. It's just a role that requires engagement, requires standing for the interest not only of the management or the owners, whoever is the owner, but also for the customers and for the employees. You know, you have to have developed this much broader vision of optimize the interests of these stakeholders. You have to have courage. The courage and the most courageous things in professional career is to say no. The most courageous thing is when you're a parent, when you're a dad, is no, you can't do it. You know, hey, don't go to mommy. The second is don't go to mommy. So no, you can do it. Hey, don't go to mommy, because she will say also no, hopefully. So, a different ballgame.
Great. And that really nicely links back to where we started the conversation on your values, on engagement and reflection, and, you know, comes through also here. Well, thank you so much. That was a real pleasure. Thanks for taking the time, and we'll be in touch.
It was a pleasure for me.
Okay, bye.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to Leadership's Insights, Navigating Career and Life. If you like this, make sure you subscribe and share it with anybody you feel could benefit from it. And if you're inspired now and you wonder how you could apply this to your life, trust that you've got all it takes and you can handle this one little step at a time. See you next time for more insights and inspiration. Bye for now.